After your last fight, you were talking about communism and socialism.
I want to dedicate this fight to all the people who've been hurt by Marxist ideologies. I understand your pain.
How did that go for you afterwards?
You know what's weird? Nothing.
Really?
That's what bothered me. No one even brought it up in the post-fight conference. Why aren't you guys asking about an ideology that killed over 100 million people in a century? And they didn't even bring it up. And I also know why. Because they went to school, and when they got educated, they also got indoctrinated.
Take me back to that moment after the fight. Were you preparing to say this, or did it kind of just come to you, and what was the feeling, the adrenaline pumping?
I had a couple of things on my mind. I jokingly, I wanted to call out Elon Musk. That for me was a joke. The fact that I even got a reply was crazy. And then two, I really wanted to just talk about Marxism because, again, Thug Rose mentioned it a month before, and she got a lot of hate because of it.
Yeah, it's better dead than red, you know. And I think I don't think it's any coincidence that Whaley is red. You know, she's that's what she represents. It's nothing personal against her, but that's a huge motivating factor of why I fight, and I fight for freedom.
I was gonna say the same thing as she said, but for some reason I didn't. I didn't say better dead than red. I said, you know, I want to dedicate this fight to all the people that have been hurt by Marxism, and I know there's a lot of them. So I took that approach, and I think it was probably better because, again, you can't say socialism, communism, because they just keep changing it. They're like, well, that's not what we're doing. We're doing this. And then you go to that, they're like, well, no, it's not really this, it's this. So just go to the root of it.
Elon Musk, I got to touch on that real quick. Where did that come from, and what has happened after that?
Joe, I want to call out your buddy, Elon Musk. Where's my wife's car, bro? I've been waiting 6 months. I've had a baby. I need a good car.
So my sister in end of 2020, I think it was in October, she's like, hey, you better go get that car if you want it, because if not, you're not going to get it for a while. I was like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, my baby's not coming till May or June. So we're good. We went in December. We ordered the car, and they told us it'll be there February. And even online, there was a little thing that said February to March. And come February, my wife says, hey, that little thing that said February to March is gone. I was like, okay. So I call, and they tell us, well, it's been pushed back. We're looking at May or June. And so April came around right before my fight. I'm cutting weight. I'm not feeling super great. I call them, and they tell me it's been pushed back again, and they don't really have a date for me. And I got a little bit upset. I was just short with the person. I can't remember their name, but I'm sorry if I was rude. Anyways, we hung up, and there's nothing I could do about it, you know. Right. And it's not like, what can I do? I'm not gonna get on Twitter and start complaining, because everybody has the same issue right now. We're having that problem. So I just thought to myself, I'm gonna be number 4, 3, whatever it is. There's not a whole lot of people in front of me I want to call out, and then I normally don't do a call out. I think they're silly. So with that being said, I said, I'll jokingly call out Elon. I've dedicated my fights to people before and things like that. I'll just add this to it. And that's pretty much how it went. It was just a joke, and then I couldn't believe how big it got. I was seeing my name on my E-Trade account. I was seeing my name. My wife's like, hey, you're on Yahoo.
You were all over.
I wasn't expecting that.
Did you get the car?
We got almost as good as getting my car. We have a loaner till our car comes. So okay. I know that's not something they do for everybody, so I do actually appreciate that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
yes.
That's as good as you get.
I would love to initially get your thoughts on this past fight with McGregor and Poirier. Just what did you think? I know it was quick.
So I was actually really torn about the fight because I thought to myself, if Conor wins, he'll probably run off and do some boxing or whatever, and that kind of leads me straight to the title. I'm the only one in the division in the top 3 or 5 or whatever you want to call it with an actual win streak. But if Dustin wins, he's going to go straight to the title. He looked good the last fight. He didn't look intimidated in the last fight. And then coming into this fight, he didn't feel the pressure, I guess.
Do you think McGregor is, as you get older, obviously, when it comes to fighting in the UFC, do you think he still has something left in him? Because it's been a while since we've seen a victory.
Let's be honest. At 145, he was capable of possibly being the best featherweight we've ever seen.
Yep.
At 155, he hasn't really put out the same numbers, and it's obviously it's the weight gain, but I think the 55 division is just so deep.
Yep.
There's so many guys, and some people jump into the division and they're supposed to be a big deal, and then in a year or two they disappear.
Yep.
It's very common. You saw a lot of guys come and disappear in the UFC that were supposed to be the next big thing. 55 division is scary, so
Yep.
it might not be Conor's fault. It just might be the division's really deep.
The injury that he had was just snapped. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think he can bounce back from at his age, or is that going to be like a year recovery?
It really depends on him, because what's your motivation? What
That's the issue.
is that the guy has so much money in the bank, and he's done a lot in the sport too. He was the first double champ. He was flawless at 145, so it's gonna depend on him. But as far as recovery goes, of course he can. He's 32, I think. He could definitely do it.
Yeah. Have you had an injury of that nature in your entire career, or what's the worst one you've had?
I don't think I've had anything like that. I broke my chest once. That felt terrible. I broke my foot and toes a couple of times. Nah, I've torn like MCLs, but all of those they recover, and it wasn't that bad. That's bad.
I like how casual you are about that, by the way, about the injuries. If I broke my chest, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Well, it was actually 2 weeks before a fight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it didn't look right with the weight cut. It looked like I had an infection or something, and then I was flexing for the weight cut like I'm supposed to. They're like, put your arms up, and my wife's like, put your arms down, and but yeah, it's just part of the sport.
For the people that have never been to a UFC fight, you talked about that feeling when you walk out. Can you just give me, even for me, just a little insight into that feeling, that rush that you have?
It's changed for me a lot. So before, it would be just this stressful thing that I had to go through, and just getting to the cage was the hardest part. I'm a devout Christian. As I figured out what the Lord's put me here for, it's actually become, he's taken that moment of weakness, and it's just a moment to praise him. So when I walk out now, it's a lot easier, and it's a lot easier just to listen to a worship song and praise him, and I'm all of a sudden, wait, we're at the cage. It's time to do this, and I feel great.
Talk to me about your walkout song. Who is it, and how did you pick that?
It's Lauren Daigle. She's just got a great voice, and I've always listened to her, but I never felt like, oh, this is gonna be a walkout song. And then I think it was 2018, we heard her song Still Rolling Stones, and it just, the beat, the sound of it, it was so good. We kept listening to it in the car, and I was like, man, I'm gonna walk out to this song. But then I was like, wife, stop playing it. Or at that time, she wasn't wife. I was like, woman, stop playing this music. I think I'm gonna walk out to this, and that's pretty much how it happened. We started listening to it right before training, and it worked really well, because when you're cutting weight, energy's low, and you need something to pick you up, and coffee doesn't do it, and it was doing it for me, so I figured I'll try it.
Your Christian faith is very big to you, right? How long have you been a Christian? Has this been part of your life forever?
No. I was definitely not.
Okay.
I was not I was Christian by name, for sure.
Okay.
Because I'm Assyrian. I was born in Iran, and Assyrians are predominantly Christian. We were there before Ayatollah came through. The mullahs came through and took over, and they said if you're a small group like us, you could keep it. You just can't share the gospel, which was kind of rough. But anyways, I didn't become a Christian till I would say 2013, 2014, and it was a process, man. I wrestled with God for a long time. I always wanted to do things my way, even though I saw him and I heard him clearly saying don't do that. But let's just say I learned through a lot of experience.
Right.
And I wish I could say I learned through somebody else's experience, but hopefully my kids will learn through my experience.
How is that? If you think that's impacted your career at any level?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it definitely has. I think because I didn't listen, I had some of the lowest of the lows, right. And but I also in those lows, I had the closest relationship I've had with him, with the Lord, because I was so low and I couldn't really hear anybody else but him. So there's that aspect of it. You know, it sucks going through that, but at least you hear him, and you hear him so clearly at that point. So I know I've noticed a lot of people seem to agree with that. It's always when you're in the trenches you start to hear him better.
As far as your faith, Christianity, and being outward with it, have you experienced any pushback from people, you know, kind of out there in society, online, whatever it may be?
Yeah, there's been definitely a pushback. Early on, I think actually the UFC was kind of pushing harder, but lately it hasn't been that way. You know, Dana even came out in an interview saying, hey, you know, it's cool you love Jesus, but you don't have to talk about it here. And I think he got a really hard pushback on that from a lot of people.
You just won the biggest fight of your career, you know? America doesn't want to hear your thoughts on Jesus, and it's awesome that you love Jesus. Love Jesus all you want. Just don't have to do it publicly.
You know, I will say for Dana lately, he's been pretty great. He's like, say whatever you want. We don't care. It's just, you know, nothing ridiculous.
We had him in.
Yeah, that's right. I watched it.
It was great. And the way he was when it comes to, I guess it was specifically politics, but this can apply to religion as well, was people are allowed to have their opinions. Obviously, I need you to not say outlandish, ridiculous things, but we want you to be able to voice your opinions.
Exactly, and that's kind of, I like that, because he wasn't always like that.
Right.
And I think he realized if he goes woke, as they call it, it was going to kill the UFC. So he's like, you know what, we'll skip that.
Well, he's got a whole new batch of fans.
Exactly.
Daily Wire fans, conservatives out there love it, right? That you're able to openly have those conversations.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a lot of people would say it's time to fight back. So fighting is a good sport to watch if you want to do that.
Now that we're there, let's get into the politics and sports thing a little bit.
Let's do it.
All the leagues, I mean, look, you can say the NBA specifically, but a lot of them have gone woke, quote unquote, if you will. For you as an athlete, is that something that you want involved in athletics at any level? Just politics.
I'll be honest with you. My wife, she's Vietnamese, so her parents are from Vietnam. They ran away from communism, which socialism, communism, it's all one thing. It's Marxism. It's Marxism. So they ran away from that. And then I was born in Iran. I know what happens when you make the government God. So I don't want to see it anywhere. Not just in sports. I don't want to see that anywhere. And unfortunately, they've slowly seeped into everything.
Yeah, I mean, especially, and it's turning people off. And I think that's part of the reason why the UFC has become so popular.
It's just, you're not going to get fighters to act that way.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get fighters to be to be politically correct or say the things that you want them to say. Dude, these, you know, we ran away from the 9 to 5. We ran away from all the things that we other people have to do, and I think that's the reason why people watch us is because they see that, they say, oh, that's cool. Let's see what this guy has to say or what this guy does for a living, and let's see how good he is.
You mentioned obviously Iran, right? Where you're from. A little bit of the story on that, how you came over here.
My parents felt that it would be best for us to come here so I could have better opportunities, possibly be a doctor, lawyer, all the things that every Iranian parent that comes to America that wants their kids to do. And my sister followed that plan. She became a nurse. I was the black sheep of the family until maybe a couple of years ago. So yeah, that's the reason why they came here. But I also suspect my dad likes to drink, and you can't find alcohol in Iran. So he was making his own, and I think he possibly even sold it to people. So I think that was another reason. He was like, you know, this isn't going to last long for me. It's not going to look good. And I think it's capital punishment for that. I think the first time you get either a ridiculous fine or jail time, and then the second time it's capital punishment. Wow. So maybe that could be another reason that motivated him to leave.
How big of a difference is it between there and here in America?
If you're a man, you can't wear shorts or a low-cut shirt. Like, women have to be completely covered. You can't say whatever you want. You can't eat whatever you want. You can't drink. It's like I said. It's they say, oh, because we're the religious leaders, we get to dictate everything. But in reality, they've made the government God, and now they can't get away from it. Even though a lot of people want to, they can't. And that to me is basically what Marxism is.
Right.
You make the government God, and it tells you what to do, and in hopes that everyone is going to prosper better. But government is made of people,
right.
and people are broken. If you can't keep them accountable, it's going to be a mess like it is.
Yeah. Well, I think, unfortunately, what you're seeing right now, right, in the States, is kind of a move in that direction, that either that socialist, communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it. When I talk to individuals, such as yourself, who have come from different parts of the world, the way that they appreciate America is at a totally different level. Why do you think here in the States we're getting a lot of young people who are moving in that direction?
I don't watch a lot of interviews, but I saw one with Denzel Washington. He said the greatest enemy of progress is comfort. I think that's the problem. There is so much comfort. There is so much good here that we've lost sight of progress. We don't know how to make progress because we don't feel like we need to. We're like, oh, everything's good, and then all of a sudden this godless ideology shows up, promising things. You know, a lot of these young people, they want hope, they want something to work towards, but because we were so comfortable, they couldn't find anything.
Right.
And now they come tell them, hey, you know, we're actually really broken. There's a lot of problems. We have to fix these, and this is how we do it. And they jump on because they're young and they don't know any better. It's what defines them.
You mentioned you've been fighting forever. It's all you've ever known. When did you start as a kid?
I think I got beat up. And I was a little kid. I got beat up. I must have been like 3 or 4 years old. And I went to my dad to kind of be comforted. I was like, you know, I went there. I was like, hey, Dad, I got beat up. And my dad was kind of rough around the edges. And he just like, you got beat up? Why didn't you win? And, you know, oh, if there's two of them, why didn't you pick up a rock or a stick kind of deal? That was kind of the way he presented it to me. And a 3-year-old, I mean, it's terrible advice. I don't think any parent should ever give that advice to their kid. And then I think the worst part was me. As a 3-year-old, I looked at my dad and I said, you're a genius. That's exactly what I should have done. And what am I doing here right now? And so ever since that, it was just,
it's been it.
It's been it. And I never really cared about like sports. Oh, kick the furthest or put a ball through a hoop the best or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was like, if I can kick this guy's butt, I don't care. He can have it.
Some people are born for things.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and the Lord really had to break me down, make me understand like that can't be an idol.
Let's go a little bit of a touchier subject as far as transgender athletes in sports at the moment. I mean, we've seen it now in the Olympics where there is an Olympic weightlifter who is
Australia or New Zealand.
New Zealand. Yeah. It is a bit of a sensitive subject, right? But do you have any thoughts on it and allowing it in professional sports?
I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
I don't understand who thinks this is fair.
Yep.
Man, a lot of these people are sick, and we're pushing them and we're encouraging them to continue to do these destructive actions. That there's a reason why the suicide rate is so high among them, and it's not because of bullying. Yep. Well, everyone's been bullied, and it's not the reason. There's been cultures that have been bullied way worse throughout our history that had a lower suicide rate than them. That's not what God designed you for. And you're not going to find true joy doing that. You're not going to find true joy going away from what God made you to be. And I think that's what's going on right now.
A lot of people see or say that there is a conflict between MMA, UFC fighting, and your Christian faith. Is that something that you do get?
All the time, actually. And, you know, they would be right if, but you have to remember, Jesus says it's not the action, it's actually the thought. It's the thought that starts the action. So if, for example, he says, if you call your brother a fool, you've committed murder. So as long as I don't go out there with hatred towards the person in front of me and understand what I'm doing is an opportunity, it's a gift, it's a privilege that I get to compete. And that person has the same thing, and that person has the same dreams as me. So there's no reason for me to hate them. As long as there's no hate there, and I look at it as purely as a competitive thing or martial arts or however you want to look at it, then I think it's fine. But if you're competing with hatred in your heart, and you say you're a Christian, I think you really do need to examine yourself, and you need to keep that in prayer.
So that's kind of where the conflict comes for people then, because for me, I'm confused that there is a conflict, because for me, if as an athlete you're competing, right? I don't see any issue with Christianity, but what they're saying is the hate in the heart that you would potentially bring into the ring.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason is you cover sports, so you understand competition, right. And a lot of people don't compete. They don't understand competition, so and you look at the fighters the day of the fight, they look angry, they look not happy, and right. They're not supposed to. It's a competition, so I get why you see it that way, and I get why they see it that way, but it really just depends on your heart and what do you hate this guy in front of you, and if you do, why do you hate him?
Right.
And that's really all it is. If there's no hate in your heart, it's not I think you're fine.
Yeah, I agree. Hopes, dreams, future. I know you kind of hit on where you want to be, but what's the ultimate goal for you? I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear it.
As far as competition goes, obviously I want to be champion. I've been given a gift. The Lord gave me this gift, and I know it's from Him. I want to make sure I don't squander this gift. So everything I do is to make sure that gift reaches its full potential. And that's it for that. Whether I'm champion or not, it's not the end of the world for me, but I believe I will be champion because He's giving me a gift. If He's given me a gift, it's not gonna fall short. So I want to be a missionary actually when I'm done fighting. I'm kind of part-time missionary right now. I spend a lot of time in Haiti, and we'll go to Asia once in a while.
Tell me a little bit about that actually. So are you part of an organization? What are you going doing?
Sure. So I started out, my church just went to Haiti after the earthquake in Haiti. My church was going there on a regular basis, and then I was kind of a baby Christian. I was a new Christian, and my pastor's like, "Hey, you want to go with us? It's a game changer." And I don't know, for some reason, when he said game changer, I was like, okay, sounds good, let's go. So we went to Haiti, and then I saw what was happening there, and the way my pastor explained it, and then the pastors in Haiti, the way they explained it to me like, because there isn't Judeo-Christian values here, it's what's destroying us. It's not the earthquakes, it's not the water, it's the spirit of Haiti that's destroying us, because I believe it's Dominican Republic that's right next to it. They were fine. The earthquake didn't hurt them, and it's the same island. So I went there and I saw that, and the kids, man, there's so many kids there, and so we started something there. I started something there with the kids, with our church. So we've been still going through that, and we built on it. And actually, Candace helped me build on that too, because she did an interview with Tim Ballard that really changed the way I looked at Haiti as well again. But I've been working with people in Haiti since 2014, I believe. Okay. So that's something that changed me. And then slowly I just said, I could see myself doing this forever. I love this. This is sharing the gospel has been. I don't think I found anything better. Even it's better than even fighting.
Yeah, you're a good man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.